Hello everyone, welcome into class today. I hope everyone is doing very well. Today we're going to be doing some math, so I want everyone to type into their search engines mathgames.com. We'll be coming up onto this site here. Then we're going to move all the way over to grades, and then we're going to click on grade 2 since we're in 2nd grade, and then we're going to find the activity entitled 213 under composition, and it is which bar graph is correct. We're going to click on that. We're going to change the level to level 1 of 3. Going to confirm it, and we're going to press start. For this activity, don't mind the ad here that we're going to be watching. Since I'm using the free version of this account, we're going to have to be watching a little bit of ads. Don't be pressured. Don't pressure your parents into buying the exclusive premium account for this. We don't need it for what we're going to be doing today. But what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be looking at some graphs. Which graphs visually show us how much of something that we have. So what we're going to let's dive right on in here with our first question. We've been working on this stuff for a while. So let's read the question. The question reads, in Joseph's kitchen there are 10 teacups and 4 pitchers. Which bar graph corresponds to the content of the kitchen? Well, let's look at the first graph here, right here, that I'm highlighting. It says teacups, right here. Then let's go all the way up to the top of the graph and then move our cursor over to the value side, and it says 10. So this shows us that there's 10 teacups. How many teacups does Joseph have? 10? Ooh, this one works really well. Let's go over here to the pitchers. We look at pitchers, we go all the way up to the top of the bar graph, and all the way over to the value side. Oh, looks like we're in the middle of two values, between 2.5 and 5. So we have the middle of 2.5 and 5 pitchers. So how many pitchers does Joseph have? 4. Ooh, is 2.5 and 5 is 4 in the middle of 2.5 and 5? I think it is. So this graph is looking really well as our correct answer. But let's take a look at this one just to make sure. We have teacups right here, all the way up to the top of the bar graph and over to the value sign. It says 4. So this is showing that we have 4 teacups. Looks like there's not enough teacups here for Joseph, right? Because Joseph has 10 teacups. So this graph doesn't work that well. But still, we're always finishing and taking in all the information that the question gives us, right? So look at the pitchers. Go all the way up to the top of the pitchers. We have average is 3 over on the value side, so it's saying that we have 3 pitchers, and perfect. And how many pitchers does Joseph have? 4. Looks like this graph doesn't work, but this one does. Let's see if we got it right. Perfect. Great job. Next question here. In her pocket, Michaela has 2 quarters and 7 nickels. Which bar graph corresponds to the money in Michaela's pocket? Well, let's look at the first graph here. Quarters, all the way up to the top of the graph, over to the value sign, we have 5. So this is showing that we have 5 quarters. Looks like looks like we have too many quarters than Michaela has. Nickels, all the way up to the top, over to the value side, 2, showing that we have 2 nickels. We don't have enough nickels, right? So this graph doesn't work. Let's see if this graph does. We have 2 quarters, right? Because we have up to the bar graph, this is showing 2 because there's 2 right here. Perfect. We have 2 quarters. We have 2 quarters up here. Michaela has 2 quarters, so this graph works in quarters. Let's see if the nickels work. Nickels all the way up to the top of the bar graph, and looks like we're in the middle of 6 and 8. What number is in the middle of 6 and 8? It's 7, right? Exactly. So I think this bar graph works because we have 2 quarters and 7 nickels. Let's see if that's right. Hey, that's right. Perfect. We're moving on. Next question here. In a box of building building blocks, Chloe found 9 rectangular pyramids and 7 cones. Which bar graph corresponds to what Chloe saw? Well, let's take a look at the first bar graph here. We have rectangular pyramids, and looks like we are in the middle of 0 and 1. So what's in the middle of 0 and 2? 1, right? Perfect. But does that match up with Chloe's rectangular pyramids? I don't think so. I think we don't have enough rectangular pyramids there. But let's take a look at the cones. Cones, we'll go all the way up to the top, showing that we are in between 6 and 8. What's in the middle? What number is in the middle between 6 and 8? 7. Exactly. So we have enough cones on this side, but we don't have enough rectangular pyramids. So let's see if this side does. Rectangular pyramids all the way up to the top of the bar graph. Over to this side, 7.5 and 10. Ooh, that's gonna be that's a harder one, right? Because there's a lot of numbers in between 10 and 7.5. But let's take a look at our cones here. We have cones all the way up to the top. Over, in between 5 and 7.5. But it looks like we're a little bit more closer to that 7.5, and we're a little bit more closer to 9 on this one, so I think this one's right. Awesome! Let's take a look at this next question here. For a pirate school assignment, Julia made a chart of the furniture in her room. There are 4 treasure chests and 1 chair. Which bar graph corresponds to Julia's furniture? Well, let's take a look at these 2 graphs. This first graph over here, treasure chests, all the way up to 4. Looks like we have 4 treasure chests. Oh, look at that. Julia has 4 treasure chests. That works. Chairs. All the way up to here. Looks like this graph is showing us that we have 1 chair. So, we have 4 treasure chests and 1 chair. Do you think this is right? Yeah, I think so too. Let's see. Nice work. Perfect job. Next question here. Austin's mom gave him a chart of the fruits he needs to buy. The chart has 2 apples and 10 bananas. Which bar graph corresponds to Austin needs to buy? Alrighty, let's look at the first graph here. Apples. All the way up to the top and over to the side. So we're in the middle between 0 and 2.5. 0 and 2.5. But looks like we're closer to that 2.5 than to the 0, so it's probably a number that's closer to 2.5. Maybe even 2. Who knows? Well, we can figure that out, right? Anywho, bananas. We're going to be moving on to bananas. I'll go all the way up to the top of the bar graph, over to the value side. 10 bananas, 10 bananas. Awesome. Austin has 10 bananas as well. Perfect. Does this show that, does this graph show how much fruit that Austin needs to buy? I think so. Let's see it. Ooh, perfect. Correct. We're going to be doing all of this stuff, all of this assignments and these questions all the way up until we are have all of these boxes checked. So let's keep on rocking and rolling. All right. So next question here. In her pocket, Addison. My apologies, Addison. Addison has 2 nickels and 8 dimes. Which bar graph corresponds to the money in Addison's pocket? Well, let's look at this first graph here. We have nickels all the way up to the top of the graph, over to the value side, 2 nickels. This is showing that we have 2 nickels, right? Perfect. So, let's move on to the next graph that they're showing us dimes. Go all the way up to the top of the graph, over to the value side, 8. So this is showing that we have 8 dimes. How many nickels and dimes does Addison have? Well, it tells us that that this person has 2 nickels, which we have here, showing here, 8 dimes, which we're showing here. Do you think this is the right answer? I think so too. Perfect, correct. And we have got a little apple face. That's pretty cool. Let's move on to the next question. Let's read it here. Lauren likes toy vehicles and made a chart of those she owns. There are 5 planes and 9 fire trucks. which bar graph corresponds to the toys Lauren has? Alrighty, let's look at our first graph here. The planes. So we have planes. Let's go all the way up to the top of the bar graph, over to the value side, 6. So this shows that there are 6 planes. Alright. How many planes does our friend Lauren have? 5. Ooh, this graph does not show 5 planes. It shows 6 planes. But let's see if it shows the correct amount of fire trucks. Fire trucks all the way up to the top of the graph, over to the value side, 8. Alright, so this is showing that we have 8 fire trucks. How many fire trucks does Lauren have? Ooh, 9. So I don't think this bar graph shows how many toy vehicles Lauren has. But let's see if this one does. Planes, all the way up to the top of the bar graph, over to the value side, 5. So this is showing 5 planes, and that's exactly how many planes Lauren has, which works. Move over to the fire trucks. We have the fire trucks all the way up to the top of the bar graph, over to the value side. Looks like we're in the middle of 7.5 and 10. What's in the middle of 7.5 and 10? It could be 9, right? So, let's try it. Awesome! We got that one right. That was a good one. Alright, let's move on to our next one. We have Kathleen's mom gave her a cart of the fruit she needs to buy. The cart has 4 oranges and 9 bananas. Which bar graph corresponds to Caitlin's needs to buy? Alright, oranges all the way up to the top of the bar graph, over to the side, 2. Ooh, that doesn't work because there's 4 oranges that Caitlin mom needs to buy, right? 4 oranges that Caitlin needs to buy. So this graph doesn't work. Let's try this graph. Oranges all the way up to the top, over to the value side, between 2.5 and 5. What's that? Could be 4. But let's look at the bananas. Bananas all the way up to the top, all the way to the side, value side. Apologies for my phone going off in the background. Between 7.5 and 10. Could that be 9? Ooh, this one's a trickier one because we don't have set numbers. But I think that this graph shows us and gives the best representation of how much Caitlin's mom gave her a cart of fruits that she needs to buy. I think it's this graph right here. Good job. If you picked that one, that was a good idea. Isabel is doing inventory at her sporting goods store. She saw 8 basketballs and 9 whistles. Which bar graph shows the correspondence to Isabel saw? Alright, so we're looking for 8 basketballs. All the way up to here. Ooh. Basketballs up on the value side. Looks like they're showing 7 basketballs, right? That's not many that's not enough basketballs, correct? I think so. I don't think so. So let's move over to these graphs. Basketballs. Oh, ooh, looks like we have a little ad popping up. Let's take that away. 7.5, a little above 7.5. What? A little above 7.5. Could we say that's 8? I think we could say that's 8. So whistles go all the way up to the top of the bar graph, over to the side, the value side. We're still in between 7.5 and 10. 9. I think this one best represents what Isabel is doing for her inventory. So let's click it. Great job. Alright, here's our last one. Last one. Let's try our hardest on this one and make sure that we get all of them correct. Matthew's mom gave him a chart of the fruit he needs to buy. The chart has 7 oranges and 10 bananas. Which graph corresponds to what Matthew needs to buy? Alright, so we're looking for 7 oranges. Looks like the oranges on this graph is a little bit low. We don't have enough oranges, right? Because we're only showing around 6 to 6.5 oranges. Ooh, maybe even 7. This could work. This could work. This graph could work. Bananas go all the way up to here, all the way up to all the way over to the value side, showing 10. There's 10 bananas. There's 7 oranges, 10 bananas. I first thought that this was wrong, but now I'm thinking that this graph is correct. Let's click it. Hey, perfect. Nice work. So you can move on to a next challenge, and going through, just make sure you show me what your progress. Thanks.